Well, hello there, my friends. My name is Carpo, and I'm sitting in front of my cell phone camera, and I'm speaking to the internet. By putting out these thoughts to the internet, I'm basically revealing my thoughts to the world in a manner of seconds. As soon as I post this, it will be live and people will be watching it. Oh, hail the age of the internet, right? I don't really feel that way, and I honestly want to explain here why I believe that social media is slowly destroying society. Now, you've all heard it before. We've all heard it before. I think that the reason people don't want to hear this is very simple because all of us are guilty. When people talk about addictions to drugs or addictions to hoarding or something like that, people can watch it and say, oh, look at those people. They have a problem. Oh, man, it must suck to be them. But finally, for once, we can't be voyeurs. We are all guilty. Every single one of you out there is I'm not saying 100%, but a majority of you out there, a vast majority, probably have found yourself questioning how much time you should spend on social media and the internet over the past several years. And we've also heard about the social dilemma, that documentary, all the different discussions about how, Instagram is harmful to young girls who have image problems and how porn has harmed young men. And it goes on and on and on and on. A person may say that's no different from back when we were kids in the 80s. Gen X here, growing up, climbing into dumpsters and hanging out in like these paper deposits where they used to throw people would dump their old magazines and newspapers in these big bins back in the day in the town. And I'd climb in there after school and we'd hang out and we'd chill. Well, it was only a matter of time till we looked down and found a penthouse laying there in front of us at age 10 and said, oh shit, wow, this is amazing. But still, even back then, as young kids, young boys in this case, back when you could just be a boy, we discovered these things and we moved past them. And I want to say why, and why I think social media is so dangerous. Because it allows a person to make connections through the internet without ever having to be there in person and have a face-to-face interaction. It's really that simple. The damage that can be done to people by not having human-to-human interaction is so immense. And so I'm going to try to cover this. I don't have any notes. I don't have anything in front of me to kind of lead me on this discussion, but it's something that just came to mind out of the blue and I just had to talk about. And I'm hoping I can cover adequately from memory, and I think most of us probably can. Now look, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. That was an age where I really do reminisce and have nostalgia about because I grew up then. But I realized as I got older, of course, every generation believes that their childhood was the best, that it was a great time to be alive. But even me in the 80s, I actually wished I had grown up in the 60s or 70s. There was a time when America was strong. There was a lot of outspoken, people, but there was also a lot of tyranny, just like there always has been. Ohio and, protests being shot at with guns instead of beanbag rounds. Things have changed a lot. People always have something to complain about in society. But back then you had to actually get out and do something. And today you can just go online and be a social justice warrior and just fight for somebody else's cause, whether they want your help or not. And let me try to get down to the point here. I am posting this, technically, on social media, and I realize that. This is a video that is posted on YouTube. Before I made it, I thought, God, there's so many people out there who have such great videos about this that are so well edited and so well to the point, and a lot of jump cuts to where they can just post exactly what they want, and they show a lot of background, let's just say stock photos and videos to explain their point, which half the time don't even make sense, or aren't relevant to the story rather. But I don't want to be that guy. After 10 years on social media, I still do it for the same reasons. Not to be the cool guy, not to be right or gain a bunch of subs or to make a bunch of money. even though that would be great to make a living off of my YouTube channel. After 10 years, and I still I make right now $120 a month off of Patreon. And I appreciate every single patron. But my point being that I don't do this for the money. I do this because I like talking about subjects that interest me. But amongst that talking, I realize that I'm part of the social media sphere. So I need to address this. I am talking on YouTube, but I'm talking to you from my raw self, my raw emotion, my raw feelings, for no other reason than I want to get my point across. And YouTube is unique in that sense that when I post a video, you get to see my eyes. You get to see what I'm actually seeing as well, in the sense that you don't always know the intention of a person when they make a comment on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook or anywhere else. But you can see the intention in my eyes when I look at the camera and I say, I mean what I say. And that I give a shit about people. And that I give a shit about the world. There is something unique about YouTube in that sense. And so I want to address the others. Instagram, first of all, I've never used. I tried to sign up for it once. I decided not to at the last minute. People have told me you should do it. You could sell your art. You could sell your jewelry. I make resin jewelry. I make guitars now. I have all these things that I'd like to sell. And I want to be in that sphere. But I don't want to be part of Instagram. Just like I don't want to be part of Facebook. I had several Facebook accounts, at least, well, 2 or 3. One of them was my Facebook group, which was about growing vegetables. In fact, it's still up because I never deleted my secondary account when I deleted my main account, so it's still up there. It's like Pacific Northwest Pacific Northwest Prepper Group, I think it was. And it was like 10 years ago when I started it, and it was all about learning to garden and grow heirloom vegetables and prepare yourself for the coming apocalypse that is eventually going to come. But I gave up on that. I don't give a shit. I don't want to talk about the end days, and I don't care about what may or may not happen. These are things that are speculative. But when I do see things unfolding in front of me, and, I'm still aware of these things. Let's put it that way. I still prepare for the unknown and the inevitable, but I want my life to be a positive one. And the most important aspect of all the bullshit going on in the world is that most of it doesn't matter. This is very crucial. I did make a video and a podcast about Ukraine yesterday. Yeah, I got sucked into the media somewhat, but it's civilian media that I've been watching, not mainstream. I've been watching people posting their videos of their escapes, and it's heartbreaking to watch old ladies running for their lives and people getting bombed while they're saving others and families dying. It pisses me off. It does. It makes me angry. And there's very few things that make me angry, but one of those is war. And in the modern day, 2022, if social media should be used for fucking anything, it should be acknowledging that war is horrendous. Doesn't matter who or why. People want to say, well, Putin has a reason. No, fuck Putin. He doesn't have a reason. Or America does this, or America. You know what? Yeah, all countries have issues. But these are the problems that in the 60s, people dreamed of having an internet or a place where they could share these things instantly. But instead of sharing a collective understanding of the strife of others and caring about one another, we spend all our time on Twitter complaining about how LGBTQ groups are, marginalized, or how somebody said a word that they shouldn't said, or Paula Deen said the N-word 30 years ago. This kind of shit, to me, it's not progress. It's not progressive at all. It's not moving forward. Worrying about what somebody did in their college years. I said the N-word 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when I was in high school. I remember a cop actually screaming at us and saying, I hear you guys using the N-word up there, because we were like 12 years old and we broke into some old abandoned house and we were up in the attic having fun and just being dorky kids. But imagine if that came back on us because I posted something at age 13, 14, or even 18. Because we misinterpret people's words so often that it's just ridiculous. And this is where I get to the point of the discussion. When that happens, we stop giving a shit about other people's opinions. And that's a very, very dangerous slope. This is something I was thinking about when I was driving to pick up my son earlier. I was like, I have to make a video talking about how dangerous it is to stop caring what other people think. As an individual, I realize what's important is that the loved ones around you, your immediate family and friends, those are the ones you need to earn the respect of. And that's all that really matters. If you meet somebody else and they don't like who you are, fuck them. But that's the problem. Because in the past, when you meet somebody in person, you're willing to bend a little bit of who you are to make a friend or to interact with someone. If you spend a weekend camping with a group of people, you might meet some new guys. And you're like, say you're the liberal dude, and there's that conservative jerk that you just can't stand that's with the group. And by the end of the weekend, you're shaking hands and you're partying and you're laughing. You took mushrooms together maybe, or had a couple beers and talked your shit out and realized we're more similar than we thought we were. But on the internet, that's not allowed to happen. There's no connection of, well, that's all right. We can agree to disagree. Let me just say, this is changing. You would think that the internet would start out civil and devolve into chaos, but it's been the opposite. It started out in chaos. I missed the internet of the early 2000s. It was crazy. YouTube was totally different in the early days. People said all kinds of stupid shit. And sometimes I think, wow, I'm nostalgic for those old days of the internet and on YouTube. Censorship has ruined anything and everything. And then I go over to my Odyssey page and I see that every single person is complaining about the Jews running the world and all of this shit that I'm just like, wow, we're back here again? Are we devolving back into this? And I have to sit back and think, it's not about just the censorship. It's about what the people do and don't want to see, what we want to see out of the internet in the future. And it's a very complicated issue. To make it very clear, I'm not saying I support any censorship. I believe that all ideas should be equally shared. If there is a platform these days, even if it was a private company like YouTube, these companies now have become social domains. It's a very unique circumstance where these websites were created by and built by the people like you and me. I started my channel back in 2010, I think, and didn't talk about much, but around 2011, I really started talking a lot more about stuff, and pretty much I've made almost 5,000 videos on YouTube. Think about the million other channels. Mine is nothing. It's a pipsqueak out there. And all these channels who have created all this content, now YouTube can monetize and make their own money off of. It is unfortunate that we don't realize that they aren't a private company anymore, that they've always been a public company because the public created it. Since we've never had the internet, we've never had this technology, we can't really see it for what it is, something different. And I've fought with this. I've wrestled with this. I've argued the devil's advocate on this. I've said, even to people I who have said exactly what I just said, I've been like, nope, it's a private company. They have the right. And they do. But I'm just saying that on the side note, there are a lot of toxic people out there and nobody wants to hear them talk about and complain about the Jews all the time. But if you ignore that, if you just push it to the back, what does that do to stop it? Nothing. Therefore, censorship does nothing. Nothing. I think the most extreme version someone said, somebody I know actually, on a comment on a video I made a while back, a few months ago, about censorship. And they said, yeah, well, we shouldn't censor snuff films either, as a sarcastic remark. And I actually thought about that for a minute. If you know what a snuff film is, it's a film of people killing other people, real films. That seems pretty obvious. I'm not, trying to condescend here, but I thought about that and I realized, no, we really shouldn't. When I grew up, we shouldn't censor it, that is. When I grew up, I remember Faces of Death was a very popular video. This was a video that most people probably today would be like, whatever, people dying. We see that shit all the time on the internet. But back then, it was a big deal. Just like Jackass was a big deal. People hurting themselves for money. There was some weird times where we realized, wow, people are strange and, hey, we can watch this. It's entertaining. But Snuff films, on the other hand, I never watched one. I've never had any interest. And nor do I think that anyone who watched a snuff film would be likely to want to do that themselves. Nor do I think people who would want to do that wouldn't be able to find it if they wanted to. And here's the big point. When you censor something, it goes underground. When it goes underground, the people who want to find it will still find it. The people who want to find it will find it. And the people who want to observe and see what's going on out there in the real world won't be able to find it. So we will get this cookie cutter bullshit version of what's going on in the world, where mainstream media gets to dictate, oh, well, COVID's important, then the war is important in Ukraine, and what's it going to be tomorrow? Something else. It's always been up to the media to dictate. They're losing ground on this. Therefore, even the alternative media outlets are kind of losing ground on what's really important here. I think that we're having a fucking major collective moment of realization as a society. I don't think people see it yet, but I think that it's going to benefit us all in the long run. And what this collective realization has to do with the fact that you can scream as loud as you want online. You can go on Twitter or Facebook and you can complain about the world. And I want to say, like I said, I never finished with the Facebook discussion, but I canceled Facebook like 3 years ago for the last time. I remember I did it once for 6 months, then I did it for a year. Kicking Facebook was like kicking smoking, okay? I quit a few times for a few months, then I quit for a year, and then finally about 3.5, 4 years ago probably I quit Facebook and I haven't used it since. And I've had people say, you should use Facebook. And I actually missed out on tickets to an event the only event every year that I really want to go to is SOAK, the regional Burning Man here down in Oregon. And the only tickets available were through Facebook if you could go to their little group. I refused to reactivate my account, and I missed it that year. And I would miss a 3-day event, 4-day event that was my favorite event because I didn't want to get on Facebook. And I thought, is that really worth it? Just to stick to your principles. I mean, I don't shop I was talking with my mom about this earlier. I don't shop at Walmart either. I know that the prices are cheaper than anywhere, but I don't like the way they treat their employees, and I have kind of a stick my nose up at them. I don't like it. I don't like dealing with them. I don't like the way they do business. But is it any better shopping at Fred Meyer, Kroger, Safeway, anywhere else, Winco? There's always problems out there, and we all kind of stand by what we think our values are, our morals are. And what I'm getting at is that our morals are bullshit. The morals that we think are important. Anytime we try to put our values on society and say, we shouldn't talk about this, or we shouldn't allow this discussion, it is absolutely the same as the church saying, we shouldn't allow heavy metal music to talk about Satan. We shouldn't allow people to talk about this or that because they're witches. We shouldn't allow a telescope. We should punish Galileo for a discovery, or, punish any philosopher that has something else to say against the church. The belief in what we have today, even the belief in science itself, has become so religious that people are scorning each other. People are preventing each other from entering premises because they don't have certain medical procedures done. It is a weird time to be alive, and that's only because of the propaganda. The fear that people have has just completely gone off the charts. The fear of mortality, it's always been there. We had much shorter lives before. We're finally doing better overall, and we have longer lives and more health, different health benefits and different medications that help us survive longer, different practices. We know more, but yet we've descended into idiocy. We've actually, over the last several years, lost intelligence in the world, and especially in the United States. We've chosen ignorance over awareness, meanwhile thinking that we're smarter than ever. And all the while, we don't realize why it's happening. Because we believe social media is the way to discuss subjects. Twitter is great for 160 characters. I signed up for it. I'm going to be honest. I signed up for Twitter 2 years ago, during the Trump era. The only reason I signed up for Twitter is because I was angry at the bullshit Trump was posting. And I'll say today I kind of laugh at myself for it, but he was posting some pretty absurd shit. A lot of the stuff may have been true, but some of it was really absurd and it was divisionary. And I still stand by the fact that if he revealed all the bullshit in politics, that would be great. But the fact is, he was always pointing the finger at half the nation, and that's a problem. But at any rate, I signed up for it. I used my account for a little while, and within about a week, I said, I'm never using this shit again. And I'd go back once in a while, and sometimes I'll still go back and post something or just to look at something. But just like Facebook, just have no interest in it. It's not because... Here's why. I realize the only reason I would go to Twitter or Facebook is to look at the rage bait. And anybody who denies that that's what's going on, there are exceptions to the rule. You know, you might go there originally to look at a music page or something, and the next thing you know, you're looking at politics. It happens all the time. So like I said, full circle. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, a lot of it, for some people it's beneficial. I think overall, the comment sections and the way people talk to one another are doing more damage than ever before, just like text messages. I'm learning still as I go. I'm 46 years old. I grew up in the age of going to the library. I know the Dewey Decimal System, man. I went and I actually looked up my books and I checked them out. It doesn't mean it's better or worse. What I'm saying is we had more patience and interaction. You're doing your studies for your schoolwork. Somebody else is checking out something else at the library. I grew up in the age where records were just stopping being sold. It was the very end of the record era, which now has a resurgence, of course, but I was still buying cassette tapes, moving into the CD. And I remember sitting and talking with some friends by the train tracks one night. And this was, mind you, I believe right after we'd broken into this place called the Little Old Hare. Well, I won't go there. It was a salon that had been left and nobody had, they'd shut down, and we broke in and took the fire extinguisher down to the train tracks, and we sprayed the fire extinguisher at the train when it went by. Stupid kids. In the meantime, we're sitting there listening to somebody had, their Walkman, and we were talking about how cassettes are going to be replaced by these discs and digital formats in the future. And I remember specifically saying, one day they're just going to, because we talked about mini discs, and I said, one day there's going to be these little chips, and you'll just have a book of them, or maybe you'll only need one because they hold so much. You'll be able to put all your music on this one little chip. Even at that point, I couldn't imagine you could keep it on one, so I figured a whole book full of these chips. Here we are. I have a 500 gigabyte mini SD card that can fit every song I ever wanted, right? And there's a point here. Everything we ever wanted at our fingertips, the things we dreamed of, they're here, including the communication beyond anything we could have even imagined. And it's killing us. It's not what we wanted. We finally realized that it's not about more growth. It's about stepping back. And how do we acknowledge that? How does a guy like me from Gen X sit here and talk bad about social media that I use and say, well, YouTube's okay? Well, YouTube's not okay either. It's only okay if you use it properly. And when I sit here, like I said, and look in the camera and I talk to you, I mean what I say. And you can call me out on my bullshit. And I listen. I read every single comment that I've ever received. Every one of them. And for the most part, they're positive. But the ones that are critical, I listen to. And believe me, I've been called out plenty in the past for being wrong on topics. But often, I think the goal here is not to prove who's right or wrong, but to give different points of view, because sometimes nobody is right or wrong. We just want to talk about what's important, and that's why I keep doing this. That's why 5,000 videos later, I can still sit here in front of a fucking camera and talk about life. I don't understand it. It's probably the most consistent thing I've done as far as a day-to-day activity, besides eating or taking a crap or whatever it might be. And even after all this time, I feel like most of my viewers probably have a completely misunderstood view of who I am, right? I like to laugh about stupid shit. I'm a joker. I like to have fun. I do feel like I've been kind of eaten alive in the last few years. Just life just kicks your ass sometimes, but I still have a positive outlook and I care about things. And sometimes that's misunderstood. And I think, well, if I get misunderstood, making videos every day, speaking right to the camera with my raw thoughts and emotion, not sugarcoating or bullshitting it, and people still misunderstand me, I can't imagine how many others are misunderstood by other people on Twitter, Facebook, or elsewhere, where they leave a comment that has good intentions or is meant to be humorous, completely taken wrong or out of context. Look, there shouldn't be limits. We need to laugh at what we say. We need to just kind of joke around about life and make it light. But most of all, abandon any important discussions on social media. Have them in person. Wait until you encounter a person. You can know more about a person talking with them for 15 minutes than you can for 15 years online. Believe me, that's a fact. I mean, it reminds me of this Manly P. Hall. I remember hearing this lecture he did once, and this one point stuck out. He said, you can teach a scholar can study Egypt for 10 years, but he'll learn more in one day of being there than he could ever learn in 10 years of study. And that's a fact, because you only learn so much from books. Maybe today that's changed slightly, but still, even today, you go look at all the videos you want of Egypt or of space or anywhere else, and you go there and people say, oh man, I had no idea. Just like TV never brings us the full breadth of the view around us, the internet, social media doesn't bring us the full concept of what's going on, whether it be war, whether it be a virus, whether it be technology or fears. And I think the important message I would just leave you with is let go of the fears. Let go of fear. I know a lot of people don't even realize they fear things. I mean, it's insane. I've had my own anxiety in life, and I get it. I understand. I don't have it the way I used to. I don't get butterflies in my stomach or anything like that because I've consciously abated it. But I still have weird dreams sometimes where it says, well, maybe there's a little bit of panic left, maybe because of societal situations or my own personal situation, whether it be financial or otherwise. We just don't know why we feel the way we feel sometimes. But generally, life is pretty damn good, and I think we should acknowledge that and spend more time talking face-to-face with the people we love. And most of all, stop giving a shit what strangers on the internet think. The old don't read the comments thing, that's only... I hear that this said a lot. Don't read the comments. Well, I don't read the comments. Why would you not? It sounds cowardly. It seems like it's a cop-out for a lot of people. I know there are a lot of people who have haters, but if you're really a good person and what you do is valuable, people should leave good comments too. So you should always read the comments, just like I do. Be like me. At any rate, I appreciate you all. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the fact that a lot of you have stuck with my channel and watched me for years on end. It's almost like we've grown up together, but you know me and I don't know you. And maybe that's the point I wanted to make the most. You don't really know me and the true me, and I don't know the true person of any video that I watch either, or any actor, any musician, philosopher. The one thing I always remember is everybody takes a shit in the morning. It's kind of one of those jokes. Everybody puts their pants on, right? One leg at a time, does the same old thing. And no matter what kind of suit and tie you wear, no matter whether you drive a fancy car or have nice jewelry, you're still just another person. And always keep that in mind. I think that that's coming into the public mindset that it doesn't matter. You don't know better because you have more. And because of this also includes how big your media channel is, or YouTube channel is, or how much money you make, or, how good you look. That shit doesn't matter. What really matters is who are you inside, and how well can you cope with the changing world around you. And as long as you can cope with the world around you, you'll be all right. And with that, I'm going to end my 30-minute video. Holy crap, I didn't realize I'd been talking that long. Bink, 30 minutes right now. Weird. At any rate, thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you next time. If you want to support the channel, please visit me on patreon.com/carpo719. I have extras over there and links to other videos that I don't have on YouTube. And there's a fly in front of me. And leave a comment. And please at least subscribe or let me know what you didn't like about the video. If you didn't like the video. If you know, I do care what people think. Even if it's just a comment. And I think the one thing that I'm grateful for, beyond anything, is that I can look down the comment list, and I know you people. I know your screen names, at least half of you. Out of every video, I know at least probably 3/4 of the people on my channel, or more. And that's great, because I feel like I do know you, and I don't want to underappreciate that. And so I want to say thank you. I do appreciate you for sticking around. One of these days, I'm going to do a random drawing and send everybody out a bunch of people out like a gift or something. I mean, I feel like I owe it to y'all, but then again, why? I'm giving you the free videos. I'm kidding. I actually have these 15-minute free thinking shirts I still have to sell, and they'll be up for sale soon, along with a couple guitars. I just finished a bass and a guitar. I'm going to put those up for auction, and I still have Kratom, of course. And anyway, we'll get into that on a separate video because I don't want to get censored. Peace and love, and just remember, social media is not reality. What's really important is who's around you. Make it work. Love the one you're with, and enjoy the world that you live in. Love your children. Embrace change, you know? I don't know. Rambling at this point. Peace out.